The government of President Buhari had been trying to ensure that it delivers the goods to Nigerians. Now, when it came, if you remember, the former Minister of Finance, Dr. Okonjo, talked about it. She said, look, we are running into recession very soon. And the President of Kano said it, even at the last hours of Jonathan administration. The President Buhari inherited that. Now, when he came in, there was no money, and the price of oil had dropped. Okay, they needed funds. Okay, now with my specialty, I sat down with the Attorney General of the Federation and the National Security Advisor to the President, and we discussed a lot of things, among others, among which we talked about how to raise funds for the President to be able to discharge his duties and ensure that Nigerians receive the dividends of democracy. So I said I was going to assist. Okay, so we agreed.
So I had cause to meet with Abdurrashid Maina then for the first time in January 2016 in company of the National Security Advisor, where Abdurrashid Maina now gave us a very heavy rundown of the prevailing fraud within the pension scheme and offered to assist the federal government in now plugging the loopholes, making information available that could be useful to the federal government, and then associated vital information.
This administration, aside from the 1.3 trillion, which we recovered from here, there, and here, there are other operations that we embarked on and we recovered funds, which are issues of national security. I can't discuss it.
He approached the Federal High Court under his Lordship Bello and a suit reference number FHC/ABJ/CS/65/13 of 27th March 2013, who ruled in his favor and annulled the Senate declaration and further annulled all the processes that took place during the pendency of the suit.
And April 2013, I was asked to be returned to work. April 2013, nobody told me to work. You know why? Because they are scared. If I return to work, what will I do again? Listen, how many years now? Where are all these people? They've been taken to court, right? Why am I here? You came here to Maiduguri to see me.
The threat to his life and the negative perception on his person as presented to the public by both the Nigerian lawmakers and the anti-graft agencies made him to seek legal action against the Senate, who refused to hear him out, the Inspector General of Police under the leadership of Mohammed Abubakar, and the Immigration Service for placing him on a no-fly list and intercepting and preventing him from embarking on overseas travel at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport on the 2nd of March 2014. Consequently, Abdurrashid Maina won the case against these government agencies, as the travel ban was a gross violation of his fundamental right to freedom of movement, guaranteed by the provisions of Section 41 of the Constitution, as delivered by Honorable Justice Adeniyi of the Federal High Court of Justice Apo Abuja on Thursday, 23rd of October 2014. The sum of 2 million naira only was awarded in favor of Abdurrashid Maina.
Abdurrashid Maina, as a person, has instituted multiple actions in court, and among the actions that were instituted by him was an action against immigration, EFCC, Inspector General of Police, to the effect that he should be taken out of the watch list, and an order was granted accordingly. So in compliance with the court order, these agencies of the government do not require any sanction from the office of the Attorney General, and then perhaps on their own they unilaterally lifted him out of the watch list, and then perhaps Mr. Maina came into Nigeria on his own prompting arising from the court order that was granted.
My lawyers wrote to the Ministry of Justice to say, look, we have a subsisting court order of 2013, which has never been appealed by government.
Well, the reinstatement of Mr. Maina in the absence of a judgment of the court, for example, should naturally be a function of the Federal Civil Service Commission, because because as an employee of the Federal Civil Service, it is a responsibility, particularly if you have particular recourse to Section 158 of the Constitution. And in exercising that discretion, the Constitution is clear. The Federal Civil Service is not bound by any directives of any person or organ of government. That is the constitutional provision arising from it. So constitutionally, if you are talking of reinstatement of minor, it is a function of the Federal Civil Service Commission.
We're urging the government to now, respect rule of law and follow what the court says. So Attorney General of the Federation wrote a letter to the Federal Civil Service Commission to say, look, I want you to look at, advise me on what happened. This is the court order, and I was based on what I have in my office. You have been given this court order 3 years ago. Why didn't you guys, And so a reply came to him. He now wrote to head of service again, seeking her advice. Head of service wrote her reply to him. So he now put all these things and sent it back to Federal Civil Service Commission and said, look, you need to give, you need to follow rule of law, because this president is all about rule of law. So follow rule of law. So what they did was, they now sent the document to head of service for the head of service senior staff committee to meet. After meeting, that committee sent the document to Ministry of Interior for the Ministry of Interior senior staff committee directors to meet, because they were the ones who were coerced to ensure that they quickly write that, the recommend for my dismissal. So they sat down, in fact, and they even said it. I was there one time. They said, look, you didn't do anything. We were asked to just do it. So the court order gave them the power to do it. So they now approved it, sent it back to head of service. Head of service approved it and sent it back to Federal Civil Service Commission, who now sat down, because the Federal Civil Service Commission is an independent body of 15 members. Now let me tell you, they sat down. I don't know anybody. I have not been into Federal Civil Service Commission in the last 12 years. I have not walked into that office. So I don't know who are the commissioners, who is there. They sat down and approved it, and they gave me the reinstatement letter and sent me back to the same ministry I was when I left service. There was something wrong in that.